I think the thing that's most different is no department in the School of Veterinary Medicine owns space. We have 4 departments, but we have one school, and so space is allocated on a school-wide basis. The committee that assigns space is composed of faculty from all 4 departments, but frankly they leave their department affiliation behind at the door, and they represent the best that they can do for the school as a whole. On an ongoing basis, they are always looking at potential for expansions and contractions. Now, they do that based on a number of things. Every 3 years, we have a complete evaluation of research space. You pretty much fill out a form that says, how much research money do you have, how many people are employed in your lab, and what is your research productivity, measured in publications. That data, or those data, are what are used to consider whether you can justify your current space assignment. I'm a good example. I had a certain amount of research space when I started here. My lab grew, my funding decreased, my lab shrank, my funding increased, my lab grew in size again. So it's not much fun having your space cut. But because we are a small school and we are basically managing space for the benefit of everyone, it wasn't so awful that my peers would come to me and say, Mary, you can't justify this amount of space, we're going to have to shrink you. Shrinking is hard. However, I saw it as a very fair process. I had always seen it as a very fair process. And I think that that's why it works here. It's incredibly transparent. The members of the Space Committee are usually senior faculty. They've been around a long time. They're also faculty who have good research funding so that they themselves are not in a situation where they would feel threatened. They're decent people. They're my colleagues. And I know they're not doing this to be nasty. They're doing this so that they can help another person grow. This building was built about 30 years ago, and we came into it de novo. Our dean at that time, Barney Easterday, had a brilliant idea. He said, instead of having the 4 departments in 4 polar areas in the building, that he would mix and match. And so our faculty offices were not in any designated area. But that sort of proximity and day-to-day saying hi to your neighbours, if only as they come in and out of their office, that makes a huge difference in growing collegiality in this school. When you sit on a committee, you don't think, I represent my silo. Instead you think, oh, I know Joe over there. You know, he's in the office next door to me. I kind of understand his point on this issue. Students, well, my graduate students, many of them have animals. They say, well, you know, my dog has this bad skin problem, and I'll say, 2 doors down is Dr. So-and-so, the dermatologist. Why don't you just pop into them and say I sent you? I think that the pros of our system outweigh some of the advantages of putting all the neuroscientists together in one particular area. I think you can do a bit of both. I think there are positive outcomes from grouping 4 or 5 research faculty who are in the exact same research area. And within our system, we try to do that. But I think the biggest pro in our system is how efficiently we increase and decrease space size, and how well respected it is by the faculty. Another advantage of this system is how you engage and honor your emeritus faculty. Now, I say this from a very personal perspective because I am indeed very recently an emeritus faculty member. And I have been thinking for several years, when I was chair of the Space Committee, how do we manage space when we need offices and our emeritus faculty are occupying them? One of our suggestions was, let's make a couple of really nice, comfortable emeritus faculty lounges. So an emeritus faculty member gets their office for a year or 2 while they pretty much deaccession their books and papers. Then, if they need it for another year, they're asked, will they share an office with another emeritus faculty member? And after that, they have access to one of two really nice lounges with far more comfortable furniture than you see here, and computer support, of course, telephone, and so forth. So I think that that enables this transition for emeritus faculty. I mean, looking forward, I think that we will not be looking at new buildings as being owned by a school or college. I think we're going to see an awful lot more of a building built for a certain type of research, like microbial sciences, that had 3 departments from 2 schools going into one building that was built to deal with a type of research. And that works out to be quite efficient.